Hi everyone, Brett Bolzenthal here with SoldByBrett.com and eXp Realty. Today I'm here with Peggy Schimel of H.I.S Home Interiors and Staging. Peggy has been in the business now as a home stager for over 6 years,
Yes.
as a certified home stager, and also over 20 years as an interior decorator. Is that correct?
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming in here, and
bet.
glad to have you on board with us today. Well, one of the big things we want to talk about today is home staging. It's such a critical topic and one that I feel is overlooked. The one thing I want to start off with is, well, first of all, I read a quote today. I thought that was really perfect, Peggy, and that says that a home is not a place, but a feeling. And I think from your standpoint and your experience, that is so true.
Very true.
With what you're working on. And from my standpoint, when I'm working with home sellers out there in my 17 plus years of being in the business, I have to remind my sellers that of all the years, regardless of whether it's been 2 or 20 plus, that it's no longer your house that's going for sale in the marketplace, but a product of the marketplace.
Yes.
And that's the way we need to treat it here. Peggy, one of the things I want to ask you, first of all, is why would someone want to have their home staged?
Sure. Well, let me give you an example as to answer that, okay? Is if we were to sell our automobile right now, would you not run it through the car wash? Or, get it all done up so it looks just perfect? Well, now we're talking about a house. And the house definitely needs to be run through the car wash, okay?
Yeah.
And so by doing that is we're getting it all perfect and ready. And you got to remember too, your house is a very big investment, a lot more than a car. Another reason is to why you would have your house staged is because a lot of people think that they can do it themselves. And I'll tell you what, if you can do it yourself, I wouldn't have spent all the money that I did in the training and in my certification. And being an interior designer, I'm already talented in this area. But there's a lot of difference between interior design and a stager. It's completely a different hat, okay? So what I do is I look at this house and I go through it with buyer's eyes, okay? And we all know that there are some things about a house is what people don't like. The current owners don't like about it. And so that's one thing I always want to find out. What is there about this house? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get away from that. For instance, let's say you have a fireplace in a corner or it's the wrong spot. And when you first come in, you're not seeing it as a focal point. Well, I'm going to want it to be the focal point. And so I do that by just with color and placement of things. And so it really helps when the buyer comes in. They go, wow, this is neat. The other reason is whoever you list your house with, that realtor is not always the one that is showing the house.
That's very true. Yeah.
And that realtor knows everything about it. And I know you put it like a script down for people so they understand all the beauties of this house. But what I do is I control the eyes of the buyer coming through because I want them to see all the beauties of this home. Okay, so I kind of guide them all the way through because again, it's not always the listing realtor that is there 100%. And so that really helps by doing that. And I use it by placement of things and color. Okay, now another answer, and I know I'm yakking away here, the statistics are showing right now that your home will sell faster and it will sell for more money. And in this area, we don't have to usually spend a lot of money. An average staging, and that is once it's painted and everything. I mean, maybe new faucets put in, things of that nature, and just updating the home. I rarely go over $3,000 on that, okay? And so it's a small amount of money to pay for getting a lot more money for your house. And you have to think too, every month your house is on the market. Do you have a mortgage? Do you have an electric bill? You are losing that money there. And it helps you to sell faster and get more money. I mean, What a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Peggy. The longer the house does stay on the market, we find, the term stale, comes to mind. And that's where, buyers are now beginning to overlook the fact the house has been on the market. And depending on whether you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market, seller's market houses are normally selling a lot, faster because there's a lot more demand for them and limited inventory. But if you start seeing a house now that's staying on for weeks longer than what these consumers are typically looked at seeing them for, it's going to impact that price. And it's going to throw up red flags. Why is this property been sitting for 4 to 6 weeks now? Why has that not sold?
And years ago we used to always drive through neighborhoods that you wanted to live in and go, oh, I like that house, I'll call the realtor. People are not driving through the neighborhoods anymore. They're online looking. So those pictures mean everything to the seller. It's your first thing of, how am I presenting this house? And so those pictures mean absolutely everything. And if you don't know what colors of your house that look good and don't look good, I could tell you, well, blues and greens are really in right now. So why don't you paint your kitchen blue? But if I don't tell you exactly what color blue, and some photograph well, some do not, okay? And so by doing that, it might look horrible. You might as well have put a neon blinking red in there, rather than the blue. And so there's so many things like that and we want to draw them in. And just those pictures mean everything, because it's almost like putting a sign out in front, like, come and see this house, because you just told them that online. And so that's another thing that I do is I look at the colors that are going to best present the house, and I go from there, like I said before, of placing the furniture. But everything that is done as soon as it's done in a room. I'm taking pictures of it right away, because I want to make sure that those pictures look good, because that's what your buyer is going to be seeing first.
I've looked through some of your pictures before, these before and afters, and to me, it's just mind-blowing, the difference. In many cases, as you're looking through some of the photos, you won't even know it was the same house when you've got done with it, because of what you've done to just really transform it and make it so inviting and, give it such a, that feeling like we were talking about of being an attractive home that somebody would want to make into their own.
There's a lot of psychology with it, to tell you the truth. Number one, giving the buyer a warm, cozy feeling, and we don't have to bake cookies anymore. Number two is to help them to visualize, like, oh, wow, hey, look how they got that sofa. That would fit my sofa. I mean, that's how I can see it, There have been a lot of homes that have been on the market, high-end homes, and it's harder to sell a high-end home, and a lot of times they're on the market for 2 to 3 years. So then what it is the realtor convinces them to see Peggy. So Peggy comes in there, and I tell them exactly, in my opinion, why the house is not selling. Okay? Obviously we can't change the neighborhood, and obviously I can't change the design of the house.
Right.
But I can sure make that house, look pretty, and get them to come. And I can't tell you how many have come and then it sells. Usually within a couple weeks to a month. That's good. Absolutely good.
Yes.
For the sellers.
Yes, it is.
But you know what? It's kind of bad for me. Because now I just placed everything and I got to come back in and take it all out. I'm going, and I go to them, I'm so happy for you. And I'm going, oh.
What about pictures, Peggy? Like family pictures, that is. I mean, obviously you want something on the walls. You don't want just plain slate walls, right? But what about like the family portraits and things? We get a lot of people that have heard different things. Now, is this something where they should remove the family pictures? What's your thoughts on that?
I'll give you my thoughts, and I'll give you my training. My training says get rid of all family pictures. Okay. My thoughts are different. Every house I've ever bought, I wanted to know who lived there. Okay? And so I like to see a couple pictures of the family. If they look happy, I'm happy. Okay? I don't know if you've ever seen pictures where they weren't happy, but I mean, seriously, you want to know a little bit about them. So my theory is, as long as those pictures don't slam you when you first come in the house, or For instance, like grandma and grandpas like to have a grandma and grandpa wall. I mean, you can't have that much, but you can have some certain things. A picture in the master bedroom or something like that. But it cannot be the first thing that you see. In a master bedroom, I want them to see the bed. So, I mean, that's the main focal point, not your pictures. My theory is 1 or 2 just to give it that hominess again.
Mm-hmm. Occasionally I run into situations where I'm interviewing different sellers, and sometimes they hear different things from other realtors talking about the color scheme of the house, and we can all agree that the atrocious colors need to go, you know, the ones that are really dark and gloomy, or maybe blaze red or blaze orange, you know, but the old rule of thumb that you have to go beyond neutral to the point of going back to white walls versus that of having some color on them. To me, it just doesn't seem very inviting. But what, in your professional experience, what would you say to that?
When you think of white, you think of sterile. And unless your house is a doctor's house, you know, you don't want it too sterile. White is very in right now, by the way, but white is in on extremely modern and contemporary homes. Homes like that are in high-rise buildings.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a purpose for every color. And by having white in a lot of those high-rise, they have windows all the way across. And by doing that, you can see the view. So that white kind of, it's like your frame, a picture frame of the view. Okay? In that instance, it's perfect. But nowadays, white, if you're going into an older home, even a home that's 20 years old, it's going to show every single flaw. And any woodwork that is a little bit needs to be tended to, it'll make it look dirty. Because it's the exact opposite.
Wow.
You know? So we still stay with neutrals. But we stay with neutrals that are more into the gray tones, because that's what's really accepted around here. In some of my designer magazines, I was surprised to see that they're putting a lot of blue with gray. I mean, and last year the big color, believe it or not, was pink. Anyways, so they're putting the pink with the gray, you know, and if you get the right neutral color, you'd be surprised. It just blends in with everything and gives you that homey feeling. However, around in the Fox Valley area here, a lot of us have oak, and we also like our beiges. I'll let you know right now that beige homes, the inside, neutral, they stay on the market 84% longer than if you were to do a calming gray.
Wow.
And there are warm grays and there are cool grays. And I have to be very careful what type of wood color you have, because I want to accent the wood color of all the trim and your furniture and things of that nature. So it's really important what color you're bringing in here.
And that's, wow, that's incredible. You know, so somebody that's just going to try to wing it, you know, after watching a couple of TV shows and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you look at your experience, you know, the certifications you've gone through, there's just so much more value that you're able to bring in, knowing all those details. You know, that's not just something you can just read a quick book on and, again, throw paint on the wall, you know, not realizing all those things. So
I just finished with a home, and she has more of your golds and beiges in it. And, you know, and her personality, she's a warm person, so obviously she'd be attracted to those colors. And I had to keep reminding her, this house is up for sale now. It's not your house anymore. Yeah. It's the buyer's.
Exactly.
So the thing is to get rid of those colors, but still make it homey. Because it's not in right now. It's not what people are looking for. And so she says, well, I used to live in an all gray home. And she says, I hated it. Everything was gray. And I said, no, there's so many grays. Just like there's so many beiges. There's a yellow beige, there's a pink beige, there's a brown beige, and there's a green beige. If you really look at the undertones, there's a lot of different colors. But it's still beige. The thing with the gray is that the grays can have an undertone of violet. They can have an undertone of green. They can have a brown undertone. And what they say, grange right now. So it's a beige and a gray, you know, together. So, and according again to the woodwork and the colors of your cabinets is what will make everything pop in that kitchen and make your cabinets just bounce right off.